Hello. Today, I'd like to talk about people helping themselves. It's been on my mind for a long time. Years. Over a decade. And I've been thinking about it a lot over the last week. People helping themselves. That includes myself. Me helping myself. Or the lack of helping themselves. People choosing not to help themselves. Including me. Not helping myself. And people choosing to be helpless. I've said it before in other videos that helplessness is one of the strongest forms of control between people. If someone chooses to be helpless, chooses not to help themselves, the people around them feel compelled to help them. That pretty much guarantees that that helpless person won't be abandoned. As long as the people around them don't get fed up. But if the people around them continue to think, oh, that person can't help themselves. I'm stronger, so I can help them. In fact, I should help them because I'm stronger and they're weaker. Well, that person who chose to be helpless continues to get help from others without helping themselves. They get people to do things for them. Now, I'm not talking about somebody who is disabled, like from a stroke, and they can't move one half of their body. They can't talk because their language area got destroyed in the stroke. They literally cannot bathe themselves. They cannot ambulate. They cannot procure food. I'm not talking about that person. That person needs help. I'm talking about the person who's perfectly capable of helping themselves, but chooses not to, and chooses to have other people help them. That's been on my mind. It's really twisted in a way. I've seen this. I've seen this before. Many times. And many different people. In fact, I think we all do this to some extent. Or have in the past. Like when you're a kid and you pooped and you need your mom or dad to help you wipe your butt. Well, it's okay if you're like 3 years old, but if you're a teenager and you need your mommy to wipe your butt, it's a problem. You should wipe your own butt. Or use a bidet. I've never used a bidet. I have still can't wrap my head around how it works. And it sounds like a good idea, but I've just never used one. Well, I'm still getting over this cough from drinking beer from last month. And I had some non-alcoholic beers a couple weeks ago, and the cough just like got really bad. It's happened before, and I know that fermented beverages, things with yeast in it, Saccharomyces cerevisiae, brewer's yeast, that's also in bread too. If I eat too much of bread or drink too much, or I drink any really fermented beverage, that's beer, wine, cider, kefir, kombucha. If I drink any of those things, I get this bad cough for like a month. So apologize to the viewers that I have a cough, but I'm getting better slowly. And I'm not going to drink any alcohol, any beer. Well, if I drink distilled liquor, it's not as bad. But distilled liquor, it's not good for other reasons, just the alcohol. But yeah, beer really messes me up. So I'm guilty of this. I'm guilty of this too. Like just not helping myself. Like I know that beer messes me up. Yet for a long time I went without it, like something like 13 years. This is a blowdown, getting around, crawling under. I didn't have it for like no, it's like 15 years. 2012, 13 years. Yeah. I didn't have beer for 13 years, and then I tried it again in April and early May. And I was like, oh, I'm not getting a cough. Well, sure enough, I'm suffering from a cough. And I know it's going to take like a month to heal. These are some pretty flowers. I think they're rhododendrons. Pink. Wild rhododendron, I believe. Oh, wow, there's a bunch of them over there. How beautiful. I'm out in the Cascade Mountains on an adventure. Well, I did this to myself. I knew that hurts me. That's why I hadn't had it for 13 years. But somehow I convinced myself that it was going to be okay. Despite all the evidence contrary to that. And here I am. I didn't help myself, I hurt myself. Doing something that I knew was going to hurt myself. But I lied to myself, and I told myself, it's going to be alright. You can do that. It feels good. You'll be alright. This time is different. This time is not different. in terms of that. I mean, every moment is different. Every moment in life is different. That's what's cool about being alive. I like being alive. It's really cool. Really cool to experience all these things. Well, also to experience myself. How I can fool myself. Well, so I am definitely guilty of this recently. Earlier in my life too. I stayed in a job that was hurting me, and I knew it. But it paid really well, and it came with a lot of social prestige. I could go on expensive vacations. My wife and I could buy whatever we wanted, except, well, we didn't buy a house because the cost of living is just ridiculous out here on the West Coast. Houses are so expensive. We never got a house. But we could enjoy other things without really thinking about it too much. But it came at a huge cost to my soul and my mind and my body. And ironically, that job was helping other people who had chosen, well, some, not everyone, but majority, I would say, had chosen to not help themselves. Now, they may not have known how to help themselves, but I don't really buy that too much. Now, I did spine surgery and brain surgery, but my main job was fixing people's spines from all sorts of problems. Mostly degenerated, worn out joints. And some people say, well, worn out joints, they just come from, I don't know, okay, no, we're going to come out to the worn out joints problem. But first, I'm going to say, there are things that, some people, you just can't avoid, like a car accident. You break your neck or you break your back. Surgery's good for that. Otherwise, your head will fall off. Literally, like, fall on your chest and you go paralyzed and die. Because your spinal cord gets severed and you can't breathe anymore. Because the nerves are cut. Or you're quadriplegic. Surgery's good. Put some titanium in there, stabilize the joint, the bones heal up. Yeah, you have less motion in the spine. It's better than being paralyzed and dead. Then there's other problems. Cancer. But cancer is interesting. You get cancer in the spine. Was it that person's fault? Were they partially culpable in getting cancer? Oh, no, Gooby. No. Cancer is like getting struck by lightning. It's not anyone's fault. It's genetics. It's a mutation. It's random. It strikes people down at random. No, it doesn't. It doesn't strike people down at random. Cancer actually follows all the other chronic diseases. cardiovascular disease, strokes, heart attacks, joint degeneration. The GoPro shut off. I was saying that cancer follows the other chronic diseases like cardiovascular disease, strokes, heart attacks, clogged up blood vessels, chronic joint degeneration, worn out discs, joint pain, bulging joints and ligaments that are pinching nerves, causing nerve pain, diabetes, obesity. Yeah, all of these things are related. And there are ways to improve the body's health so it heals. Now, once you get to a certain point, these things that I've talked about in the Help Your Body Heal series, once you get to a certain point, like the damage is so severe that it's nearly impossible to reverse. That's when you need surgery, chemotherapy, radiation, medications, injections. But a surprising amount can be reversed, and more importantly, a lot of it can be prevented by choices of the individual. And this is not like rocket science. Get enough sleep. Eat healthy. Stay away from processed foods, things that are too salty, sugary, or oily. Eat whole foods, mostly plant-based foods. Fruits, vegetables, some whole grains, nuts, seeds. Watch out for too much salt. Salt is probably the most important thing out of all these things. Do things that make you sweat, like what I'm doing right now. I'm hiking out in the mountains. I'm sweating, even though it's a cool morning. Exercise. Build some muscle. Muscle is really important for the body. It gives your skeleton support. It helps you move around. If you don't have muscle, if you only have tiny, skinny, wimpy muscles, well, you can't support your joints very well. They're going to hurt. They're going to get injured. Also, muscle interacts with the rest of your body. It soaks up sugars from your blood. It helps with hormones like testosterone and, well, for men, I don't know if it does that for women. Maybe it affects the estrogen cycle. I don't know. Maybe someone who's watching who's a biologist, a human physiologist, or doctor, maybe you can comment. How does muscle affect female hormones? There's the term sarcopenia. Sarco is muscle. Penia means not enough. Sarcopenia means that you don't have enough muscle. You can be skinny, but be fat, because all you have is fat, not muscle. You're skinny fat. Well, of course, you could just be fat. But, if you actually have a lot of fat on you, it takes muscle to get that around, as long as you're moving around. So you actually probably have a good amount of muscle underneath just to move the body. Okay, what are some other non-rocket science things to help prevent these chronic problems? Sunlight, very important. Vitamin D is made from sunlight. That is really important for sleep, muscles, bones. Quality of sleep directly impacted by your vitamin D levels. If you get enough sun, you're going to sleep well. You're going to have a good quality sleep that's not interrupted very much. I figured that out not too long ago. And if you live in a place where it's not that sunny, or you do live in a place that's sunny, but you're inside all the time working a desk job, then you should probably take vitamin D supplements. It's probably one of the few supplements you actually need if you live in this modern society. As long as you're getting whole food, plant-based foods, you'll get everything else. You don't really need a multivitamin. As long as you get enough nuts and seeds, you'll get the essential fatty acids. But if you're not getting sunlight, you won't get vitamin D. Without vitamin D, you can't have strong core muscles, the big muscles. Shoulders, chest, back, glute, that's the butt, thighs, quads, hamstrings. Well, really all the muscles, but especially those big core muscles. Because I live up in the Pacific Northwest, I don't get very much sun. So I've been, even though I'm out here in the summertime, but in the wintertime, there's literally like no sun for like months, many months. It's cloudy. So I started taking vitamin D supplements. Vitamin D3 is really cheap. Get it at any grocery store, pharmacy. And my quality of sleep has improved. I can feel my core muscles, my chest, back, shoulders, butt, thigh, quads, hamstrings. Well, thigh is really quads and hamstrings. Also my calves. They've gotten stronger. And I've been able to do these really long hikes, like 20-mile hikes in one day in the mountains, over rocks and roots and stuff, without getting injured. Before that would injure some tendon and muscle in my calf and ankle, and have to recover for like a month before I can go back out. Just like a week and a half ago, I did 34 miles over 2 days. No, my feet were a little sore, but I bounced back really quick. Now here I am. I don't know how far I'm gonna go this trip, but I think it's gonna be at least 60 to 70 miles. I'm not sure. It might be less, it might be more. Just kind of, this is the first day of actual hiking. Yesterday, I just came down here and set up camp. But today is the first full day of hiking. So I'm going to kind of see how things go. But I'm confident that my body is stronger now, and it can heal and repair itself. Yeah, so most people don't understand that. They don't understand that the body can repair itself. You don't need a pill. You don't need to pay somebody to repair your body. The body does it on its own if you help it. If you help yourself. Wait, and then what are the other non-rocket science things? Well, just being in touch with yourself, listening to your feelings. Your feelings, our consciousness, it's not this body, it's inhabiting the body while the body's alive. But these feelings, they tell you way more than what science can understand, what we can understand. Well, listen to them. Make choices to help yourself. That's not rocket science. You can make choices. You can make choices to help yourself or hurt yourself. It's not rocket science. Have healthy socializing relationships. That's not rocket science either. Take care of yourself. Take care of your loved ones in a healthy way. Now, this comes back to if somebody's helpless all the time, and then they're your family member, well, there's sort of like a cultural obligation to continue to help them. But if they don't help themselves, you can't really help them. In fact, you'll just be dragged down with them. So you can offer help, but set a limit, is my advice. What I've been learning to do is like, hey, look, I care about you. I care about you. You're my family member. You're asking for help. Here, I'm going to help you this much. I'm going to show you how to help yourself. And then that's it. You can help yourself or you can not help yourself. I did my cultural obligation of helping you to help yourself. But I'm not going to spend my whole life helping you. Not interested in that. Does that make me an asshole? I don't think so. Maybe to that person. Maybe that person thinks I'm an asshole. Maybe they hate me. Maybe they want to hurt me because I did help them in the past and I just told them that, look, you can help yourself. Maybe they want to hurt me. I've seen that before. Not only from family members, but patients. Well, I didn't say that to patients, but I did say that, look, you can help yourself. So let's go back to chronic joint disease. That was what I spent a lot of time dealing with, working on. I spent 6 years in neurosurgery residency at Duke. My viral video was, I said, I'm an MIT trained neurosurgeon. Well, I trained at MIT for undergrad. I studied biology there. I got a bachelor's in science at MIT. And then I went to medical school and got a medical degree at Duke University. And I stayed there for neurosurgery. So I spent 10 years there. Well, why did you say MIT trained, Gooby? Well, that was my first talking video. Well, that wasn't my first. It was my first main talking video. And I wasn't sure how much of my private life to divulge. And I wasn't sure if what I was going to say was going to hurt the institutions that trained me. And my colleagues. So I kind of obscured my education history slightly. But it is true, I did train at MIT for biology. And then I went to Duke. Well, why? I kind of lost my train of thought. We're talking about degenerative joint disease. Yeah. Well, I mean, I saw a lot of people heal their bulging discs, ruptured discs, heal their stenosis in their spine, just from doing the non-rocket science things. Eating healthy, sleeping enough, exercising, both cardio and strength training, getting sunlight, sweating, not eating too salty, focusing on healthy social relationships and a healthy relationship with yourself. Like saying kind things to yourself, loving yourself. Also, giving yourself the hard, stern talk when you're lying to yourself. Like when I was drinking beer again, even though I knew it would hurt me. It's not easy to face reality. It's not easy to say to yourself, hey, I see you're lying to yourself. That's not easy. That's really hard. But if you really want to help yourself, that's what you need to do. Well, I took care of a lot of people that didn't do those things. And again, it's not rocket science. It's not some like hidden secret buried in some ancient text in like a sea scroll in like a cave in the Middle East somewhere. It's not some like esoteric knowledge that was burned up in the library of Alexandria, Egypt, when the library was burned. It's not some knowledge that hunter-gatherer tribes had collected over millennia, but that knowledge was lost as we became sedentary in this way of life. No, everyone knows that. Your mom says it. Your dad says it. Your teachers say it. Make sure you get enough sleep. Make sure you eat your veggies. You should get some exercise. You should get some sunlight and fresh air. Stay away from that person. They're not good for you. Oh, that person is a good friend. I'm glad you spend time with them. Yeah, this is not rocket science. You know, but to some people it might as well be. It might as well be some indecipherable language, like, well, Sanskrit to me. I can't read Sanskrit, but it's not. It's common knowledge, common sense. That stuff heals. People heal. They literally help themselves get better. They also help themselves prevent these awful health outcomes like cancer, diabetes, stroke, heart attack. Nerve problems, nerve pain, paralysis. Yeah, they help themselves. And part of it. Well, so what am I saying? Am I saying that the patients are at fault for their problems? Yeah, partially they are. Partially it is the society and culture we live in. If there was a more of a public education, public health initiative to educate people how important these things they already know are and how effective they are in repairing things and preventing bad health outcomes. If there was more of a public health initiative to do that, well, more people would be thinking about it. And they'd be like, oh yeah, what my mom and dad said when I was a kid is true. Well, too bad I didn't do that for the last couple decades. I better start doing it now because my back hurts. Well, then I think a lot of people would get a lot better. So why isn't that the case? Well, I talked about that in the viral video. There's no money in that. If you tell people, hey, eat these veggies, some fruits, whole grains, nuts, seeds. Don't eat the processed foods. Don't go out to restaurants. Don't eat that pizza or that donut. Don't buy cigarettes. Don't buy beer. Don't buy that wine. Don't go out to the bar and get a cocktail. Don't buy drugs. Make sure that you exercise. Okay. The first part, the food part, a lot of people will lose money, especially animal agriculture. People that raise animals, chickens, cows, pigs, whatever, ducks. The dairy industry. Ooh, they lose a lot of money. Restaurants lose a lot of money. Alcohol companies lose a lot of money. Well, tobacco is interesting because there's already been a public initiative to educate people on the dangers of tobacco, and so smoking's not cool anymore. It used to be cool. So not that many people smoke, although people do vape nicotine. And nicotine is not as bad. I mean, vaping is not as harmful as smoking a cigarette, but it's still harmful. It contracts the blood vessels. It's highly addictive. It can decrease blood flow to different parts of your body, impairing healing. Some people think vaping's cool. You get all these different flavors. Some people think it looks cool. Well, I think there's probably a lot of marketing for that. But it hurts you. Okay, so that's just the food part. Now, the exercise part, actually there's a lot of people trying to make money off of that. All the fitness gyms, exercise equipment, exercise clubs, CrossFit, all these things. So I guess one industry would probably make more money with that public health initiative. Let's see, what else? Sleeping enough. I don't know if anyone really make money off of that. I mean, people already have bought a mattress or bed. I don't think you can make money off of people sleeping more. In fact, that might decrease like streaming revenues on like Netflix and other streaming services like YouTube, Spotify. Oh, quick plug. I am on Spotify. So if you like these talks, but you're in a place where you can't watch the video, like you're driving or something, you can download. I don't know. It's better to stream because I get paid. I'm not getting paid yet on Spotify because I started it like a month ago. I haven't reached the Spotify partner level yet, like I have on YouTube. So I don't get paid right now. But streaming does help the creator, me, get to that point. If you download it, somehow it doesn't, it has something to do with ads. Yeah. But yeah, do whatever you want. Just saying, like, if you want to have the audio version, you could stream it or download it on Spotify. So you can drive or do house chores, whatever. Yeah, okay, that was the end of the quick plug. It's literally the only advertisement that I've ever done on this channel because I don't advertise products. I don't have sponsors. You watching is the only way I make money these days. Your views. Well, because YouTube puts in advertisements before and after the video. That's the only way I make money these days. And it's not a lot of money, but it's enough to buy groceries and pay some of the rent. Not all of it. Okay. Going back to the topic. It's always hard when I go off on a tangent to figure out where I left off, to come back. Well, okay, let's just go back. Is it the patient's fault? Well, we were talking about the societal implications of what would happen if you have a public health education initiative to remind people what they already learned before, but they forgot or they choose not to do. Well, restaurants, food companies, they lose a lot of money. Alcohol companies, they lose a lot of money. You know who would lose a lot of money? Doctors and hospitals. And all the other people that work in a hospital. Nurses, lab staff, physical therapists, occupational therapists, speech therapists, scrub techs in the OR, corporate shareholders, insurance companies. Would they lose a lot? Actually, they may stand to gain. No, I think that there is some kind of like, I don't know the intricacies of insurance health economics, but I think that there's like a certain amount that people have to spend in order to justify a premium. for the insurance to justify the premium. So let's just say everyone is getting healthier. They're helping themselves. They're getting healthier. They maybe get their annual checkup with their doc, get some basic blood work done. But other than that, they're not needing to go to their primary doc. They don't need to go any specialists. They don't need surgery. They don't need MRIs and CT scans. They don't need fancy blood work. They don't need injections or biopsies or chemotherapy or radiation. They don't even need insulin or expensive drugs. Well, the insurance company would probably in the first year or two make a lot of money because they're not having to dish out some of their profit from your premium that you pay every month. But I think that I'm not sure, maybe someone who knows this can comment, but I think that there's like the premium has to be justified by how much people are actually using, how much the insurance company's paying out. So if insurance companies aren't paying out anymore, they would have to drop their premiums, which means they would make less money. I think that's how it works, but someone who's more knowledgeable maybe can write in the comments. I mean, if that is how it works, then insurance premiums would actually drop and be cheaper for everybody. That would make people happier, but shareholders of the insurance companies unhappy. CEOs of insurance companies unhappy. If people focused on having healthy relationships, I think a lot of people would walk away from toxic jobs that exploit and treat people like wage slaves, like replaceable cogs in a machine. That's not good for jobs. I mean, for companies. Well, it's good for people though, because companies will be forced to treat employees like human beings again, like they used to, with respect, valuing expertise, valuing loyalty to the company, instead of viewing someone who has stayed at the company as a liability because you got to pay them more than some new grad. So now it's like, let's just try to find a way to force out the people that have been here a long time because we're paying them more, and we can get some new grad who's all bright-eyed and bushy-tail for a fraction of the price. So let's just find a way to make it miserable for the older employees so that they'll leave, or find a way to fire them. You know, that's how things work right now. It's not like how it used to be, where you could work at one company your whole life and have a pension at the end. Well, yeah, I think just from having a public health initiative of education to remind people what they already know, well, society would be changed pretty drastically if people chose to help themselves. And that comes back to where I was at the beginning of the talk. What I noticed is that people don't really choose to help themselves. And while I've done that to myself many times, in the end, I think I have chosen to help myself. I left a toxic career, try to eat healthy. I still eat pizza every once in a while. I'm definitely staying away from beer for the rest of my life. But will I have a pizza? Yeah, I'll have pizza every once in a while. But I know it's not good, so I'm not going to do it very much. But see, I'm not helping myself. Well, I guess that's my answer. My question was, why do people choose not to help themselves? Well, there are a lot of things that feel good. Our Homo sapien brain, our human brain, values short-term reward over long-term reward. If I can have a pizza right now, and I can feel good right now, but then I feel bad for the next week because I gained weight, I'm a little bloated from the salt, and my joints hurt a little bit. Maybe I'm not sleeping as well. Well, would I choose to not eat the pizza and rather like chew on a bag of flax seeds? I'm just thinking of like something that I actually have in my backpack right now. I have a bag of flaxseed. I like that because like in order to really, I like it when I'm hiking because it's very calorie dense, like incredibly calorie dense. It's lightweight, doesn't have much water in it, a ton of fiber, a ton of protein, a ton of calories, and it's got essential fatty acids that my body needs for my cell membranes to function correctly and the nerves to fire correctly, because the electrical impulses in the nerves, they run along the membranes. It's like the skin of the cell. But it's something that's very critical. But the reason why I bring it on hikes is because it's super light and energy dense, and it's actually fun to chew because in order to actually get the nutrition out of it, you have to chew it. Or you can grind it up in a mill and make a flaxseed meal. Flax meal? That's like what I put in a smoothie. But out here, I got time. And it quenches my appetite. Satisfies my appetite. Because like I'm chewing on these seeds for a long time. They're yummy. Well, if I do that, I'm not going to get a huge. If I choose to not eat a pizza and chew on a bunch of flax seeds, I'm not going to get a huge dopamine hit from like eating a pizza. But I'm not going to be bloated. My joints actually feel better. I'll sleep really well. I'll recover from this hike faster than if I ate pizza. In fact, if I ate pizza, my recovery might be impaired. I might sustain an injury that would end this adventure early. Instead of being able to do 60, 70 miles over the next few days, I'd have to go home and recover for like weeks. But that dopamine hit, so powerful. Yeah, I guess that's why part of why people don't help themselves is the valuing short-term gain over long-term gain. I understand that. But it's still mystifying to me that someone can be suffering so much. I have awful back pain or neck pain and be miserable. Like not even be able to move very well. Yet they continue the behaviors that cause that pain. Here's some beautiful yellow flowers and a couple of bumblebees. Gathering pollen. And then there's these really beautiful red flowers. Columbines. I love these flowers. They're so pretty. They hang upside down. Oh, they're so beautiful. They come in all different colors. There's some purple ones that live next to where my apartment is. I haven't seen these red ones before. They're a very pretty color. It's like reddish orange. Beautiful. Well, I get it. I get the dopamine hit thing. But it still mystifies me when someone's in so much pain, yet they continue to do what causes them that pain. Like at some point, I wonder, doesn't the person realize, wow, this really sucks. I don't want to be here anymore. Oh, and my doctor said, I don't have to be here anymore. If I eat healthy, sleep, exercise, have healthy social relationships, and a healthy relationship with myself. That's not rocket science. Doesn't take long either. I mean, within a month, people are usually pain-free if they do those things. Now, I tell that to patients. I used to. I don't practice anymore. I honestly, I can't see myself going back because of this problem. I literally say, and this goes to family members too. I literally say, hey, if you do these things, in a month, you're not going to have any pain. Your body will be healed. Yet, they continue to suffer when they don't have to. They choose to. And that's what I mean by the patient is responsible, at least partially. Some of it's culture and society and capitalist corporate medicine, and just capitalism in general and the need for profits to drive shareholder value through advertisements and essentially convincing everyone that they need to buy whatever they need. When a lot of the stuff you need, you don't need to buy. It's free. So, patient's not completely at fault. But I think shares a lot of responsibility, because ultimately the person decides what they eat, how much they sleep, how and who they associate with, how they treat themselves. No one decides that for them. Well, unless you work in a really crappy job. But still, no one's life is completely decided by their employer. You can choose what you eat on your lunch break, your meal break. So, yeah. Why do people continue to live in suffering when they can choose not to? That mystifies me. It's not really a lack of knowledge, because this stuff is what we all learned as a kid. It's common sense. So it's not for lack of knowledge, although some people may have forgotten. Maybe they need a reminder. And part of it is they choose to get that quick dopamine hit despite all the suffering. They're addicted to the processed foods, addicted to nicotine, alcohol, addicted to an abusive relationship, addicted to abusing themselves, getting some weird kick out of hurting themselves, like a masochism. Well, there's that. And then there's the more twisted aspect, which is somebody who is helpless, who is suffering, who constantly asks people around them to help them out of fear of abandonment. That's like a whole nother level on top of just being addicted to the dopamine hit. It's like manipulating other people's lives because, I don't know. Well, why would someone do that? Well, they feel like maybe if they were self-sufficient, then nobody would want to be around them. I don't think that's the truth. In fact, I think it's the opposite. If someone is constantly needing other people's help and is helpless, at some point, the people who were helping them will be like, wait, why am I doing this? Why don't you help yourself? I can't do this for you my whole life. That leads to abandonment. Here's some more pretty flowers. You got the yellow flowers, and then you got the lupines. They make those little bean pods. Oh, and bear grass. You can make baskets out of the grass. You can weave them together. It's beautiful out here. Well, when I run across people who are helpless and they manipulate others to avoid abandonment, I'm just going to tell them, hey, look, this is how much I've helped you to help yourself. You can help yourself now. I'm not going to help you anymore. Now, I mean, if that person's situation changes and they literally cannot help themselves and I have the ability to help them, I might choose to help them. Maybe. But with a history of not helping themselves, I'm going to think really hard about it before I do. Yeah. Really hard. Yeah, I've been burned really bad in my personal life and professional life by this problem. Well, this problem continues. I left neurosurgery, I left spine surgery, yet I still see the same problem. Maybe because I'm more attuned to it after my experiences. But I see this problem in our civilization, that the things we do continue to destroy the environment, deforest the planet, poison the waters, poison the airs, make the climate unstable, make people, make too many people that there's fighting. There is a manufactured scarcity. Okay, by that I mean it's manufactured because there's too many people. If we had 100 million people if we had 0.1 billion people instead of 8.2, we'd have a lot more space, a lot less people consuming stuff. It'd be a very different world. Instead, we've used fossil fuels to overshoot the Earth's carrying capacity. What that means is the Earth has a finite limit of what it can provide, and we've used fossil fuels to essentially just wreck the Earth. We've used fossil fuels to grow a lot of food, to make a lot of people. And on a finite planet, that spells disaster, especially when the fossil fuels start to get harder to extract, which is now. There is an island, St. Matthew's Island. Actually, it was in the new Mission Impossible movie. St. Matthew's Island. The new Mission Impossible movie. Final Reckoning, I think is the name of the movie. They have to go to St. Matthew's Island for part of the plot. I won't spoil the movie. But that island is actually very important from an ecological story perspective. Now, I've told this before, and I'm going to tell it again, but in an abbreviated version. In World War II, there were some military personnel, U.S. Army, or U.S. something, Navy or Coast Guard, no, it was Coast Guard, stationed on St. Matthew's Island. It's up like near Alaska and Russia. It's in between Alaska and Russia, where it's really cold. And the soldiers or military personnel were stationed there, and then they brought like a dozen reindeer with them, just in case, like in World War II, they got cut off from supplies, and they got really hungry. They could hunt the reindeer and eat the reindeer to survive until help can come, because it's very remote. Well, they never ended up having to eat the reindeer. And the reindeer didn't live on the island before. There was just like some foxes, some birds, and a bunch of lichen. Lichen is like this white, black stuff that's on the ground. It's like an algae. It's an algae bacteria symbiosis, I think. I think I have that right. It's pretty cool. It's one of the few things in the forest that can fix nitrogen. So it's very valuable. It fixes nitrogen out of the air, and it provides nitrogen for all of the living beings, little animals, all the plants, trees. Lichen are very, very critical to the forest life. Just like salmon are. Salmon bring nitrogen and phosphorus from the ocean upstream into the mountains. Their bodies bring life from the ocean. Well, lichen brings life in their bodies, and they snatch it out of the air. It's pretty cool. Well, at St. Matthew's Island, there were a bunch of reindeer that weren't eaten, and they just had essentially all-you-can-eat lichen buffet. And the soldiers left once World War II ended. And some ecologists or biologists stopped by the island every couple of years to see what was happening to the reindeer. And because there was an all-you-can-eat buffet of lichen, the population exploded. I think it went from like a dozen or 20 or so reindeer to I think it was like 4 or 5 or 6,000. It's not a big island. The island was literally covered in reindeer. It was shocking to the researchers. And then 2 years later, so this was like the 60s, so like a decade or two had passed. Like 2 decades had passed from World War II when the reindeer were first introduced. They're eating lichen, making babies, eating lichen, making babies, their babies eat the lichen, make babies. Now the island is overpopulated. They have overshot the carrying capacity of the island for the reindeer. Well, the researchers returned 2 years later. All of the island was covered in reindeer skeletons. He could only find one sickly male that could not reproduce, and it's like 8 or 9 or something females who obviously could not reproduce because the male was sick. That was it. Eventually, those remaining reindeer died off. There are no more reindeer on St. Matthew's Island. They had overshot the carrying capacity of the island and made themselves extinct. Well, our human population is doing the same thing with the help of fossil fuels. And as fossil fuels are used up and are all the knock-on effects of the climate warming and becoming unstable, the waters and skies polluted with poison, forever chemicals, plastics, forest gone, deforested. I mean, this forest is here, but we're deforesting this planet very quickly. Since 2000, the turn of the millennium, an area that's about half the landmass of the mainland United States has been deforested around the whole world. That's shocking. Shocking. The pace of deforestation. A lot of that's for animal agriculture. We got to stop animal agriculture. We also got to stop this way of life if we want to survive. If we don't want to go the path of the reindeer on St. Matthew's Island. We literally have to carefully, conscientiously, ethically decrease our population and degrow. Decrease our use of fossil fuels. We have to give up a lot of the stuff that gives us dopamine hits, like racing combustion engine cars, racing any cars, flying to visit loved ones who live across the country or in a different country, flying to go to vacations. We have to give up the convenience of mobility in our cars, automobiles. We have to give up this massive food web that we've created that sustains 8.2 billion people, but relies on cutting down forests. And this goes beyond short-term dopamine hits. This is not, it's essentially taking the pizza or flax seeds example, but blowing it up to global proportions and over many years, decades, centuries, millennia. I just don't see people wanting to help themselves in that regard. Some people do. I want to. I still drove here in a combustion engine vehicle. I still have electricity in my home. This trail is kind of overgrown. It smells really good. Oh, it's beautiful. Ooh, lovely smell. I wonder what smells so good. Well, it's not that. It smells, it smells like dahlia, but I don't see any dahlia. Yeah. Well, just like people continuing to have severe back pain and neck pain by refusing to take care of themselves in common sense ways, we continue this way of life that's going to take us the way of the reindeer on St. Matthew's Island. And I do it too. I drove here. I have a house with electricity. I get my food from this food web that we've made. This massive agricultural industry. I consciously eat mostly plant-based for health reasons, but also for ecological reasons. I've had some tiffs with vegans on this channel, but I think that that's actually the most ecologically minded diet or way of life. I think it makes sense. I would say 99% of the calories I eat are from plants. Like very occasionally I'll eat something that comes from an animal. So, I've had some tips with vegans on this channel, But it's not because I disagree with their conclusion that eating plants will not only have health benefits but ecological benefits. I disagree with them on the moral ground the moral pedestal that they put themselves on. I think that as soon as anyone says, I'm righteous, I don't do wrong, other people do wrong, that's when you can do a lot of wrong. So I disagree with the moral, putting themselves on a moral pedestal. That's what I disagree with. Yeah. Oh, and also if we all return, which is not likely, very very unlikely, if we all return to a hunter-gatherer way of life, you would have to eat some animals just to survive, and that wouldn't be from agriculture. You're not raising cows, but if literally there was no civilization anymore, we're all just walking through the forest, and there's a lot fewer of us, well, you probably would have to eat some shellfish. Like if you lived here, you have to eat some shellfish or salmon in the fall. Not all of them. And you're not raising them, you're not farming them. Well, you probably would have to eat some. Now, if everyone did that now, with 8.2 billion people, all the wildlife would be extinct very quickly. They're gone. Except maybe in very remote parts of the wilderness, even more remote than where I am. Yeah. Well, yeah, that's why this has been on my mind. Is that the same problem I saw as being a doctor, I also see from a civilization, humanity standpoint, that we keep hurting ourselves despite common sense knowledge that we already have. Why? Why do we keep doing it? Are we helpless? Are we destined to do this to ourselves like the reindeer of St. Matthew's Island? Did the reindeer have any choice? Do we have any choice in this regard? I don't know. I literally don't know. I think we have choice. We do have choice. But the probability of us choosing to avert the fate of the reindeer on St. Matthew's Island is very low. Just like the fact that there are a lot of patients with severe back and neck problems getting surgery every day. And I this is the end of the talk. I'm not saying that surgery should all be stopped, okay? I said before, surgery for traumas are very helpful. And if someone's let their body go for so long, like many decades, like they're 60 years old now, they barely can walk. Well, that's like 6 decades of not taking care of themselves. Even if they started now, well, they probably would feel a lot better and have less pain, but they may not be able to move very well, and they may need surgery to restore some space for the nerves so that they can walk. So, I'm not saying that there's not a role for surgery. And, that's something that people these days are not very good at. Nuance. It's not all black and white. There's lots of gray. It's not A or B. It's A and B and everything in between. That's a druid concept, the 3 arrows. You don't just have a dual choice of yes or no. It's yes and no and everything in between. Black and white and all the colors, and all the shades of colors, all the intensities of light in between. Well, yeah. It's not just the outcome of we end up extinct like the reindeer, or we give up everything and become hunter-gatherers and decrease our population and we just roam the forest, occasionally eating shellfish and salmon. Lots of nuts and seeds and berries and stuff, leaves. It's not just those 2 choices. There's everything in between. We could choose to hold on to some of the technology, which I think technology has gotten us into this predicament. But we could choose to hold on to some of it. We could choose to hold on to some of the scientific knowledge that we've gained, but also adopt some of the practices of hunter-gatherer tribes that we descended from, our ancestors. Find kind of like a hybrid. A way to live at least a little bit more in harmony, instead of just like completely thinking ourselves as completely separate. Like, we don't have to all like wear loincloths and walk to the forest. There's something in between. What that is, it's up to our imaginations and our choices. Yeah. Well, that's what I want to talk about something that was mystifying to me. Why people don't help themselves, or they remain helpless. Oh, including myself sometimes. Bye.